To win, you got to not lose.
Woo! All right. There is a 100% chance that tonight somebody watching this show is going to be big mad. 100% chance of that happening. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the FBS Report. Don't get used to the time length, though. This will probably change in 2 weeks, but welcome. Glad to have you guys over here for another grand episode of this show. For those of you who don't know what FBS stands for, Red, why don't you go ahead and do us all a favor and remind them.
Fucking bullshit.
Boy, you let that drag on for a good minute, but yeah, thank you for that. I
I
tend to agree.
Quicker than that, damn.
But yeah, as you guys would expect, we have quite a bit of bullshit tonight to go over. Now, as the title would suggest, we are getting very, very, very close to the start of college football. We only have 2 more shows after this until we get into the college football season starting with week 0. So to give you guys a quick schedule, a quick idea of what the next 2 shows are going to be like after this, next week is going to be a free-for-all. We're just going to shoot the shit with you guys. You guys are going to give your thoughts on this or this or this, and me and Red are going to go at it and the whole thing because I will be on vacation. I will be treading towards the beach again, which means that, of course, I'll be bringing my laptop and my spare microphone that I've gotten there, and we'll be running the show from there. Now, last time, as Red, I'm sure, can tell you, I was actually out playing a little bit of putt-putt golf, and I accidentally ended the show last year when I went on vacation.
Lest we forget, the early days, the very first couple episodes of the FBS Report, I'm hosting it by myself, trying to captain the ship, and this motherfucker decides, you know what would really help? I'm going to put a big old hole in the side of this motherfucker and sink it.
Yeah, I gave you one of these. 2 of them, actually.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. To be fair, I was a little bit hammered.
You were very hammered.
It was the only way that I could actually successfully play putt-putt, so the more you know, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, if there was a law against getting drunk and putt-putting, then everybody would do it, so there you go.
Right. Anyway, next week is just going to be where we shoot the shit with you guys, talk about whatever you want to talk about, and you guys can feel free to give your thoughts on anything happening towards this next college football season. You won't want to miss it, because then the week after that, that's when our regularly scheduled programming starts. We're going to be going over all the week 0 games. We'll talk about week 0 with you guys and go over all of that as we progress into the college football season. So,
yes, sir.
Big stuff coming here on the FBS Report, and I'm really looking forward to expanding on that with you guys. Speaking you go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's going to be good to get back to what this show was built to do, which is talk about football as it happens and react with it as it happens, and, not be reminiscing about the season prior, asking about the season coming, and most importantly, not having to talk about Congress having to stick up their ass when it comes to passing a college football protection act of some fucking kind. God damn it.
Yeah, so speaking of extension, it's that time again, everybody. We've been hearing about it for all off season long. It's been a reoccurring thing, just like the Brendan Sorsby arc. Well, this goes into college football playoff extension, and, well, here's what you need to know. So there is serious talk from the CFP executives they're meeting on Monday to further explore the idea of CFP expansion. And this includes the idea of 16, 20, or 24 team models because you just can't get enough of making the regular season even more useless, right? So there's serious discussions going on about it. So ironically enough, one of the voices of reason, so I've heard, in that room where they're discussing this, just so happens to be the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey. So anybody who's quick on the trigger to blame the SEC, just like they do everything else, bad news for you. That's it. We got nothing to do with it. This is specifically a decision by the playoff committee. We don't really have a choice on that regard. So hopefully it doesn't pan out the way that some of these guys are wanting to, because nobody wants to see a 24, 20, or whatever team playoff. I think past this point, if you don't get into the playoffs, you just don't deserve to be in. But, at this point, just make it a 100-team playoff and have everybody just play without a regular season.
Well, let's pump the brakes a little bit there, because I wouldn't dare start saying, oh, okay, we're going to start doing 30 teams, 69 teams, 100 teams, 200 teams. We all know why they're doing this, right?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and play the thing. I know you're wanting to.
Why the hell did it do that? Hang on a second. Yeah, there we go. What the barnacles? God damn it, I love that bit.
Well, it couldn't be more true in terms of this situation.
Really? Yeah. I mean, you look at the playoffs, it's literally just expanding the playoffs just means expanding their paychecks. That's literally all it is. It's not about the integrity of the sport. It's not about tradition. It's not about, oh, well, the FCS does this. They want money, as we all do, but they want even more money. And I genuinely just cannot even begin to tell you how sick and fucking tired I am of them coming out and making these stupid little excuses about how, oh, well, we're just trying to make it more accessible to everyone, instead of just telling us the truth, which is, hey, we don't think we're making enough money. We know we can make a fuck ton more money. So fuck you and your traditions. We're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that's the whole reason behind any of this, is because the playoff committee knows that whatever they can get out of it, they're going to try and get. So this is just the way it has to be.
Oh yeah. And it's sad, because I remember a time watching college football when it wasn't about money, when it was about actually, playing to your best and trying to win a national championship or a conference title. And some, to a degree that's still there, but it's being overshadowed now by just how crazy all these sponsorships are and the playoff bullshit. Like, I think eventually we'll get to a point where we get used to the jersey sponsorships. We get used to this new way of college football, and we're still going to love it because, I mean, come on, it's college football at the end of the day. I still love it more than the NFL, even though the NFL is a, more popular league globally, I guess. But it doesn't feel as corporate as the NFL still. That's why I still like it.
Right. Well, one thing that we all must learn here as college football fans and just in life in general, we talk about the current year. Here's the thing that you need to know. Nothing happens until it actually happens. That's one of the things you need to know for sure, because we've been hearing it all off season long. We've had several discussions about it, me and Red, going back several times for the off season, where they're going to expand the playoffs here, at this date, and then nothing happens. I mean, it's the same thing with like Florida State, for example. Florida State's been talking about leaving the ACC for the past 3 years. The day has never come where they actually left the ACC. So nothing happens until it actually happens. I need to make that into like a piece of merch or something.
Make it into a T-shirt at this point, Squid.
At this point, I might as well. Yeah, there you go.
We need all the monies we can get at this point. Nothing happens until it happens.
Until it actually happens, right?
Yeah, we've been meaning to make. We've been thinking about us making some FBS Report merch at some point. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, the one thing I heard in another lifetime, I've said this before on the show, but I think I have. But in another lifetime, I was a professional wrestler for my local federation down here. Shout out to the Northern Wrestling Federation. And the one saying in pro wrestling honestly applies to college football as well. Never say never, right? oh, it's never going to happen. They're never going to leave FCS and come to FBS. They're never going to leave the ACC. They're never going to get rid of this. They're never going to get jersey sponsorships. Never say never. Applies very well.
That's right. Well, if you guys want to hear us talk about that more, I'm sure you can go back to one of our mini shows where we talk constantly about playoff expansion and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So that's all that really needs to be said about that. Anyway, getting into the main topic of today's show. This is going to be this topic. Yeah, well, we do. We do. This is one of the rare times that we actually have a main topic.
There's a plan.
We're getting to that point now to where the college football season is coming up, and I put together 5 bold predictions for each conference and the teams that are in it. So I put together 5 bold, basically in total 20 bold predictions for this upcoming college football season. Red hasn't seen them. He's given me a few of them, and you'll know once we get to them. But Red, for most of them, is just as blind as you guys when it comes to seeing this. So if
it sucks, it's Squid's fault. Don't blame me.
There you go.
Just telling you right now. If it sucks, it's this volunteer fan's fault. We need more money than the talent fee.
Most of them, if they age bad, it could be my fault. And because of that, I didn't do anything with Tennessee. So there you go. I didn't touch my Volunteers, nor do I have any intention to until my preseason video on them drops.
Did we touch the Buckeyes? God damn it. All right, lay it on me, brother.
Well, not yet. First of all, we have to, of course, say a special shout out to the guys down there. We can't forget about them. The money talks, after all.
Hey, he said the bit. He said the bit. Do the same thing with development. Give me some slack.
Yeah, it was a layup, so I had to. Anyway, shout out to our sponsor of the FBS Report, Prize Picks. Now, as they do for every single FBS Report, now we've got a lineup to make. So let's go ahead and get right on that before we continue on with the show. And the fun thing about Prize Picks is that you can wager on just about anything. You can wager on Counter-Strike if you want, League of Legends, WNBA, MLB, tennis, soccer. I'm going to put something on of course, the MLB. Originally, I was going to do something with Banana Ball, but that's no longer an option. I know.
I was going to say
I'm just what? Yeah, no, it's real. I think it was Banana Ball. Yeah, I was going to do something with that, but that wasn't available by the time the show started. Believe me, I'm just as disappointed as everybody else.
Boo, not cool.
I know. Very, very unfortunate. Blame the Showtime for that. But I guess. What do you think? I guess you should just do what we usually do and put more on a few lineups here.
Yeah, I would
can't
say
do it on the same team.
Let's put more on Merrill, more on Christian Walker. I'm actually going to say let's be bold and go less on Jose Altuve if we can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, gotcha. Let's fuck around. Why not?
All right, that's what we'll do then. Lineup's good. All right, let's run it. So we'll give you guys an update on that. I actually won. The last lineup that we did, I actually won that. The last one we did on the show. Yeah, I actually won.
Yeah,
so sometimes
every blind squirrel finds a nut.
It is true. Every blind squirrel does indeed find a nut. So if you want to jump in on that too and find your nut, the perfect place for that is Prize Picks. So hit up that promo code HMA, sign up today. And the best part about it is you can play a first $5 lineup and have a chance to get $150 if you win. So check out Prize Picks using the promo code HMA. Sign up today. Thank you to them for sponsoring. And, of course, make sure to play responsibly.
You said find your nut?
What?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a part of the blind squirrel reference. I don't know if you were keeping along. I don't know if you're keeping track.
I know how you were where you were trying to go, but at the end it kind of sounded like
ass hurts.
And there you go.
Thanks. All right. Well, I guess we'll start out here because we've got to go with each conference. We're going to start out with Tank Conference, the ACC. So, like I said previously, I've got 5 bold predictions for each conference and some of the teams that are in it. Now, Red did help me out with a few of these, and I'll list and I will let you guys know which ones he did help me out with as we progress into it. But yeah, we're going to start off here with the ACC. Number 5. This is a big one here to start out with. So number 5, JKS leads Cal to 8 or more wins this year. I'm very high on Cal because of JKS. I think he is an elite prospect with Cal. He's probably one of the best returning quarterbacks. He had a phenomenal freshman year, and with the material that he has with him this go around, I think they're going to go places. Plus, they don't have Justin Wilcox to worry about anymore, because I think that was really holding them back. So I think it is going to make a huge impact to that offense, a huge impact to that team overall, and it's going to be very, very helpful for them. So I'm very, very high on Cal. Plus, it's Tank Conference, and they've got a very easy schedule to manage along with it.
Well, I see you're high on the Calgorithm, as Z
yes, very high.
Here. I don't blame you. I was going to say on the surface, it's like, okay, JKS isn't, the only thing that Cal has going for them. But to be fair, he kind of is. I don't disagree that Cal is going to win 8 games. Like you said, JKS, great season last year. And honestly, you go back and watch some of those Cal games, they were damn close a couple of times to winning a few of those games that they ended up losing. And, they made it very entertaining. I would say that, they're not going to suck. I think they're still going to make a bowl game regardless. But getting 8 wins, it's not too crazy.
Yeah, it's not. I didn't go overly ridiculous with it. It really wouldn't be all that weird to imagine Cal with a very manageable schedule and actual weapons on offense, because JKS now has a weapon in Rutgers wide receiver Ian Strong. He's no KJ Duff, but he's pretty damn close to it. I think he's going to do some serious work there under that Cal offense.
I'm going to adjust this so we can get our facial reactions in here, if that's possible. Oh, nope, we can't. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're overlays, so we really can't do much about that. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. That's unfortunate. Slight oversight there, but it is what it is. All right. Moving on here to number 4. It's going to make one fan base mad, but to be honest, we've been doing a whole lot of that. Number 4, and Red did help me out with this one. This is way more of a Red take than it is of me. Number 4, Clemson tanks even harder than last year. So Clemson was a mess last season. They did manage to at least make a bowl game, but what was their final record? Like what? 7-6.
Yeah, 6-6.
Yeah, I think they finished 7-5, and then the bowl loss to Penn State. They ended up 7-6. Well, Red and me to an extent, because they've lost a lot of their big time weapons, think that Clemson is going to take even harder this year. Now, whether or not that ends up being the end of Dabo Swinney at Clemson is yet to be determined. But Red, you can take this from here. What do you think?
I genuinely am just not confident in Clemson going into 26. Look, everybody was so fucking high on Cade Klubnik going into last season, and that team just laid the biggest of eggs. They're ranked 23 in the preseason coaches poll. That's their lowest preseason ranking since 2011. And right now, I hear a lot of people saying 6-6 is most likely the floor. It genuinely would not surprise me as if they get off to a bad start and they just crash out and go 5-7 and not even go bowling. And that is if they start and they lose 4 games in a row and they fire Dabo. That is nuclear football scenario bullshit there. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that it's totally possible, but I genuinely feel like this season for Clemson is going to be make or break. Either Dabo gets the ship righted and they get back to a 10-win season, or they crash out and go 500 or even worse.
Yeah, to me, I think the only saving grace for Clemson this year would be a pop-off season for that defensive line. Will Hill, I think he is really good. He's one of the better edge rushers in the conference. I know that for a fact. But the main thing about Clemson is that they lost so many of their offensive weapons last year. Klubnik's gone. They're replacing him with Christopher Verizon, and I saw this guy play, and he is not good.
Christopher Verizon, what the fuck?
Yeah, he's not good. His actual name is Christopher Vazina, but I'm not very confident in him at all.
I don't blame you. I mean, again, they were pegging Cade Klubnik as a Heisman hopeful last year. Who the fuck even is Christopher Vizzini? I think it's Vizzina? Vizzinia?
Yeah.
It sounds like the Italian grandmother took a shit on the table on Sunday dinner. Like, that's exactly what that name sounds like. And I'm guaranteeing you right now, he plays just about as good as that.
Yeah. The only way I see Clemson having any sort of productivity on offense is a breakout year from Chris Johnson, the transfer running back that they got from SMU, because he is pretty good. But there are some serious problems on the line. They're starting a freshman on their tackle, so it's a mess.
It's bad enough when the offensive line has to replace the parts over the offseason. It's even worse when you got a guy coming in with no FBS experience on the offensive line and asking him to do the damn job. That is not going to go well the first month, at least.
We're going to find out real quick. That's the plus about this whole thing, is that we're going to find out very fast, because, of course, Clemson opens up the season in Tiger Stadium, going to Death Valley against LSU. So we're going to find out really fast whether or not any of this comes to fruition.
And if they win that game somehow, we're going to be eating a plate of fucking...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, if LSU ends up blowing that game, oh, my goodness. At that point,
they focused on
LSU has saved themselves a spot for Clown of the Week at that point.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So I guess we'll keep an eye on that as it progresses. All right, ACC number 3. And I had to put something about this in here. But number 3, Big Game James. In other words, James Franklin leads Virginia Tech to 8 or more wins this year. Now, how are we feeling about this one, Red?
That depends. Depends entirely on how all the transfers coalesce together. You got to remember something. James Franklin, he knows how to win games. He just doesn't know how to win big games, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think that it's impossible for Virginia Tech, with all the talent they brought in after the James Franklin recruitment cycle hit. What I don't believe is that I don't know if they'll get to 8 wins for sure. I mean, they got a couple of gimmies like VMI, Old Dominion. Well, Old Dominion's not a gimme with Virginia Tech anymore, actually.
Yeah, no, that is okay. They are not a gimme, but they do have them in
Maryland,
Blacksburg,
Boston College, and then they got some. They got Stanford, but they got a lot of toss-ups in there that if the team's not together, it's gonna be very gross.
Well, to give you guys an idea. All right, to give you guys an idea, their first 6 games are VMI, Old Dominion, Maryland on the road, Boston College on the road, Pitt, and then Cal in Berkeley. So, yeah, no, Red is right. There are some trap games in there. That Maryland game, I know we make fun of Maryland, and I think Loxley's probably gone after this season, but this is a September Maryland that Virginia Tech is having to fight off against. So it's no gimme either.
No.
So, but the thing is that I said 8+ wins. Is it that hard to believe that Virginia Tech wound up 8-4?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, it is. Genuine. The whole idea of rebuilding a school from scratch just strictly on transfers, which is what James Franklin had to do when he went to Virginia Tech, has only worked really, really well like one time, and that's Indiana. James Franklin's not Kurt Signetti.
I'll tell you this. I think when it comes to like James Franklin and the transfers that he brought in as compared to like what's happening with Oklahoma State and Penn State, way different scenarios right there, because Virginia Tech did keep a lot of their team together. Now, of course, they brought in quite a few transfers, Ethan Gruckmeyer, Luke Reynolds as their starting tight end, Quayshawn Brown. They brought a few pieces on the line. Yeah, no, hardly, but no, I think they only got like maybe 6 guys that are starting from the transfer portal. The rest are just guys for depth. So to me, I don't know. I think they're highballing that a little bit when it comes to just James Franklin bringing in a bunch of transfers. I don't think that's the case at all. He kept a lot of that team together. My only concern with the Hokies would be their run game. Because right now, Marcellus Hawkins is set to be their starter, transferred in from Central Missouri, which, did you know anything about that? No, of course not.
That's Ohio Valley, ain't it? FCS, or is it D2?
I don't really remember. That's my point. Nobody knows what that is. But he's set to be their starting running back of the season. If they have no run game by the time they head into their second game against Old Dominion and they just look like crap, we could be looking at that prediction with a what were we thinking type of look.
I did look it up real fast. There were 27 transfers. 12 players followed Franklin from Penn State to Virginia Tech, and that is also including the 22 high school signees that Virginia Tech was able to get recruited over the offseason. So, I mean, not a fuck ton of recruits, but, you got enough star power there with Grunkemeyer and Luke Reynolds to potentially, make an impact at Virginia Tech. Do I think they're guaranteed to get 8 wins? No, it's going to be tough, especially when you're still working with a lot of the bones from the old team.
Right. Well, I'm sticking to it. Still think Virginia Tech's got the potential to win 8-something games. And again, this is despite the fact that they have to play both Miami and SMU on the road. The rest of their schedule is favorable enough to the point that I think they can get through most of those games. But we'll see. A lot of that does depend on how far Virginia falls off, which is there is some potential with that as well. All right, coming in at number 2. And these aren't necessarily, except for number 1, these aren't necessarily ranked by importance, but
no,
number 1 is different on that regard. But yeah, here's number 2. And this should be no surprise coming from a lot of you. This has kind of been a long time coming, but number 2, this will be Dave Doran's final year at NC State. I think NC State right now, you talk about what's been going on with CJ Bailey, which CJ Bailey is a really good player, but he's had some offseason drama over these past few months that has really kind of shifted the narrative that I have with NC State. And plus, if you know anything about the Wolfpack and what they've been doing these past few years, they've just kind of been riding the mid ground. They haven't been terrible. They've been able to at least make it to a bowl game, but they haven't gone any further. They haven't shown much sign of improvement despite bringing in talent. And I think that's going to show in this season because CJ Bailey, while as good as he is, because he is pretty good, I think he's at least one of the upper tier quarterbacks in the ACC. Again, no weapons to go along with him. And that is a problem.
I think this is a fair take. I don't think it's that bold, actually, because genuinely, NC State and Dave Doran have been kind of on frayed edges over the last couple of years. They were 5-5 at one point in the season, and they barely managed to finish 8-5, which honestly is probably why he's still there. I'm not going to look at the schedule. I'm not going to look at, statistics and blah, 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 blah. It's really straightforward. NC State has to improve this year. They have to improve this year. They got to go 9 wins, 10 wins. They don't have to make the ACC championship game, but they got to win 9 games if they're going to show any sort of improvement. Maybe 8-4 is fine. I would think 8-4 might be fine. But if you regress at all, if you're Dave Doran, pack your bags, bro. You're getting the fuck out of there.
Well, good news is we get to talk about NC State very soon, actually, because they're one of the openers. They start week 0 in Charlottesville. It was originally a game across the country, but that changed. Now they're going to Virginia to face off against the Cavaliers.
They were playing in Brazil, actually.
Yeah, I think it was Brazil, but they switched that up. Remember, they changed it. They were originally going to play there.
I think that was a good idea to go to Brazil. Jesus Christ.
Hell if I know. But again, whole different conversation here if they wound up going in there and beating Virginia, because then a lot of their schedule looks favorable. But it's within possibility that Virginia Tech or NC State is heading into their bye week at 2-4. That is a significant possibility because they play Virginia on the road. They play Richmond after a bye. They should win that. Vandy in Nashville. And despite what you think about Vandy, I would have to say that Vanderbilt right now has as good of a chance of beating NC State as NC State does of beating Vandy, especially with home field advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Then they play Appalachian State. Can't look down on them. I think they should take care of business there. But then they play Louisville and Wake Forest in back-to-back weeks. And
Louisville's an oof.
Yeah, that I don't think they're winning that. But Wake Forest, 50-50 scenario there. That if that lines up being what it is, and NC State is 2-3 heading into that Wake Forest game, that could be the game that ends up deciding Dave Doran's job right there. If he doesn't win that game, they're either going to be heading into their bye week with a brand new head coach, or they're going to just go ahead and let him play through the rest of the season and then get can him after the end of the season.
Yeah, I would say if they start off like if there's a catastrophic loss somewhere in there, they would can him. But if it's like he's just not winning the games they need to win in the ACC, they'll let him ride it out. He's been there 14 years. NC State's shown incredible patience and loyalty to him. Unlike some other schools and programs that are like, we want national titles, we want a conference title. NC State's clearly like the Minnesota of the ACC, in which they'll put up with the coach for way too fucking long before they decide to pull the plug.
Yeah, right. Well, in terms of the Wolfpack, this in any other year, I would say this is a detriment to them, or I would say this is a positive, but this is a negative this year. They do not have Clemson on their schedule. Because if you know anything about NC State and their fans, one of the most important things to them, other than, of course, beating North Carolina and Duke, is beating Clemson. And if that were on their schedule, I feel like that would be a game that would wound up saving Dave Doran if he were able to win that game. Problem is, he doesn't have it on the schedule. They have a very easy schedule, and that does favor them to some degree. I would say their toughest opponent by far is Louisville. But that leaves a lot of space for them to just start pissing themselves against teams like Stanford or Florida State. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're going to find out real fucking fast. You're right about that. I think week 0, if they come out and they get a solid win against Virginia, I think Doran will stick around. But, I mean, that's obviously a lot to glean from week 0.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, Florida State beat Alabama week 1. And then look what happened to both of those teams as the year progressed. Speaking of which, that actually plays into my number 1 bold prediction for the season. And this is my boldest prediction for the ACC by far. Now, Red here, this is actually an honorable mention. I didn't list it on here, but Red did mention that he had a bold prediction that I did not put on there. And I will say this first. Red has a honorable mention prediction where he thinks Miami's going to win the ACC.
Yeah, I think they will. I genuinely don't think that that's too bold of a prediction either, because they're arguably one of the toughest teams in the ACC heading into the season. They got Darian Mensah, a massive quarterback to have back on their roster this year, can easily replace the guy that left them. They got a lot of momentum. They did get rated by the NFL draft a little bit. You know, they lost some talent and all that bullshit. They lost the goddamn sloth. But their ACC schedule isn't too tough either. I mean, it wasn't going to be tough to begin with, but they don't have a whole lot of really hard games. They got like Notre Dame, and I can't remember what else they got. But yeah, I genuinely feel like if they go 11-1, 10-2, it's going to be an ACC title appearance easily.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that, as long as they don't piss themselves. Now, all right, here's my boldest prediction for the conference. And if you saw the FBS report where he rated the most overrated and underrated teams, then I'm very high on this one in particular. No, that's not, wrong guy for that. Anyway, number 1 boldest prediction for the ACC: Louisville beats Ole Miss week 1 and makes the ACC championship game. I am very, very high on the Louisville Cardinals. I think they've got an easy path as long as they don't shit themselves and they don't blow themselves up. I think they've got an easy path to the ACC championship game. And more importantly, I think Ole Miss is very much looking ahead of that Louisville game because they play LSU week 3. I think they're very much looking ahead. So that's my hottest take for anybody in the ACC right there. very high on the Cardinals this season. They brought in a bunch of weapons. I think Lincoln Kienholz is going to do enough to lead them there, especially when they got two of the better running backs in the conference. They've got the best running back in the conference in Isaac Brown. And behind him, they've got Kejon Brown. They've got a 1-2 punch system. Jeff Brom has brought in a system that I think will be executed to perfection. And while I don't think they're going to go undefeated or anything, they're going to lose at least 1 or 2 games. I think they're going to beat Ole Miss. And the hardest game after that is SMU, and they got them at home. Everybody else that they play, that's, to me, I think every other game on that schedule looks heavily winnable for them. So, yeah. And the best part about that is if they find a way to piss themselves at the end of the year against Kentucky, not going to matter for the ACC championship chances. So there you go. That's my boldest take. What you think about that?
What the f*** was that?
Look, I'm not going to tell you that you're a fucking moron, but what the fuck are you smoking? What are you smoking? Ole Miss has the better overall roster than Louisville. Louisville has a lot of shit they still got to get figured out. And even if they do somehow find a way to beat Ole Miss, because Ole Miss still has a lot of fixing to do themselves, I don't think that them being Ole Miss in week 1 is a true thermostat temperature check on if they're going to make the ACC championship. They've been close. You know, they've made the championship game recently within the last couple of years. But, I mean, dude, the fuck? I expect you to say something like, oh, Florida State will make a bowl game or some shit like that. I didn't expect you to be like, oh, Louisville's going to beat
I told you it was my boldest take.
What the fucking fuck, dude? That is like so out of left field.
Okay, well, again, you said if they beat Ole Miss. Well, if they beat Ole Miss, the rest of the schedule looks heavily favorable because, like I said, they play SMU, and then the toughest team after that, it's probably Georgia Tech on the road in Atlanta or Kentucky. That should tell you everything you need to know right there. They have a heavily favorable schedule. I think Ole Miss is looking ahead to that LSU game. I think they're bringing in a brand new coaching staff, and that's going to take some time to adjust. And Louisville has got a veteran coach on their system and the best running back against what could potentially be a suspect run defense. So to me, I think they've got all the potential in the world to win that game.
Louisville's offensive line has a lot of goddamn questions with it that I genuinely don't think that they're going to have solved by the time they go up against Ole Miss. Also, their defense was not very good against good teams last year.
Hold on, why do you say their line has got questions? They brought in a bunch of transfers on that line. They completely refurbished it.
Yes, you can refurbish a house, but if the paint ain't dry, you're going to get fucking wet and disgusting looking, right? You can't just plug and play a couple of offensive linemen into an offensive line and be like, okay, problem solved, let's go play Ole Miss. It takes time to get that chemistry together because you got to communicate with each other on the offensive line, be able to spot the blitzes, tell people what to go, be able to pass off defenders when you're blocking with ease. That's not something you just go and do in practice for 4 weeks in fall camp before you start the game. Anytime the offensive line needs to do a lot of rebuilding, I immediately be like, all right, they're not going to be that good for at least the first month because it takes that long. That's just, again, former offensive linemen, not to pull the fucking college football card out here, but former offensive linemen for a D3 school, you could tell why we went 0-10. I was on that offensive line. We had no goddamn chemistry because we were so injured to hell we didn't have time to develop one. So, I don't think that them going to the ACC championship game is a completely out of whack suggestion. They were a couple of shots in the foot away from making it there, I think, last year. The hospital pizza game against Clemson, if they won that, would have been a far different result for them, I think.
Could have been.
But to say they're going to beat Ole Miss and that's going to be the litmus test for them to make the ACC championship game,
well, that's why they're called bold predictions, Red.
Yeah, I'm bold. Wouldn't
it be bold if everybody agreed with me? You know what I mean?
I mean, if bold is enough to make my blood vessels in the brain fucking burst, then okay. Okay, Squid.
There you go. All right. Well,
I'm sorry for going off the wire on you.
that's why they're bold takes after all. All right. Well, if you thought that was bad, just wait till we get to the Big Ten, because that's what we're going to next.
Yeah, I'd love to hear an SEC fan's takes on the fucking Big Ten conference.
Hey,
yeah, that's what we came here for.
Hard. I didn't shit on you too hard, so relax.
Let's get on with it.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll start out here with a banger. Yeah, all of these are pretty hot takes, but this one in particular might be one of the hottest. Oh, all right. So here we go. Number 5.
No!
You didn't even see it.
Absolutely fucking not.
At least let me read it to the chat.
Do you read what I'm reading?
Oh yeah, I read it. Yeah, number 5.
God.
Number 5. Hush. Give me a minute to at least say it. Number 5. Purdue wins more games this year than Nebraska. You. There you go.
Oh, what the fuck? What?
Either you're really high on Nebraska or just that dadgum low on Purdue. Which one is it?
Purdue might as well be boiling shit in their Boilermakers. What the fuck are you talking about? If that happens, that rule is getting fired. Like, what the fuck?
No, listen, all right, here you go. So let me go ahead and explain where I'm coming from with this. So first of all,
okay,
Barry Odom, second year with him, is brought in a whole bunch of brand new talent. Ryan Brown, I think, is a quarterback that has a lot of potential if he winds up showing it. They've got a brand new set of wide receivers, some of which are actually talented. Jalen Hornsby and Xavier Townsend, for example. Both of those guys are pretty good. They've shown potential in the past. I think they'll show potential here as well. 2 brand new running backs from the portal. Fame Ejioboy, which if you saw him and the way he played at Minnesota, he was actually pretty good. So when I say they've got potential, it's going to be based a lot on that offense. All right. The defense, I'm sure, has some questions. Of course, they are going to. Yeah, sure. But of course, you've got to compare this to Nebraska, too, because I did say they're going to win more games in Nebraska. And I think Nebraska has some very heavy questions, and a lot of that has to do with the offense that they're bringing back. And Isaiah Hunter, I think, is good. But the problem is I think losing Dylan Mahomes in the way that they did is going to pull them back quite a bit. Anthony Calandre, he had a lot of potential at UNLV. Showed it. I mean, there's a reason why he won the Conference Player of the Year. The only problem is I just don't he doesn't have really any sort of running back system, doesn't have many weapons on offense, and the schedules are important too. I wouldn't be saying this. I want to be near as confident about this take if I didn't, see their schedules. For example, I think Purdue dodges quite a bit of the talented teams from their conference. They still have to play Notre Dame. But that's just one of those things. You know what I mean? Then you look at Nebraska, for example, and Nebraska, unfortunately, this is one of those years where they aren't dodging a lot of those heavy hitters because Nebraska is used to that. They're used to dodging quite a those teams. They have to play Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, Washington, Iowa on the road, Illinois on the road. And again, this is coming from a team that I'm not very confident in. So again, hot take. We call it a hot take for a reason, right? There you go.
Okay. Look, I'm going to just try and be as nice as I possibly can to you. That is not a bold prediction. That is you going back in time to 2008. Because that is just making no fucking sense to my. Okay, so
I tried to explain it to you the best way that I could.
Okay. I look. I'm just gonna be blunt. Look at the schedules again. See who they're playing against. Okay, we can make the argument of the talents are this, the talents. Nebraska lost Raiola and whatever. Purdue has to play the Fighting Irish, Illinois, at Illinois, Washington, Penn State, Iowa, Indiana. That's 6 losses right there, I think. At minimum. Now let's take a look at Nebraska. They got to play Indiana. Yeah. Oregon. Yeah, sure. Washington might be a tough one, but I think they actually have a little bit more talent than Purdue does, so they might be able to skate by. We'll see. Illinois, again, going to be a tough one. Ohio State, Iowa. That's only 5 losses at minimum. I got Nebraska winning 7-8 games.
So you are high on Nebraska. That's what that was.
I am not so much high on Nebraska. I think they're going to be serviceable. I don't think they're going to suck. I think they're going to be serviceable. There's a key difference.
You and I are different in that regard. I'll say that.
I think that they're not going to be dog water. Okay, they'll get to 7 wins and make a bowl and rebuild and all that bullshit. They got a couple of digs again. Purdue has fuck all to show for it right now.
Now I will say here's something that I did overlook when making this prediction, because I looked at their conference and the teams that they play in their conference. I think Purdue does have the easier road on that regard. What they don't have that Nebraska does is they do have a much more difficult non-con run because they've got Notre Dame plus Wake Forest. Meanwhile, here's Nebraska's 3 non-conference opponents: Ohio, Bowling Green, and North Dakota.
And may I say, when I was saying Purdue has at minimum 6 losses, I wasn't even counting Wake Forest because that's at home, so they might have a fucking chance.
This all goes back to the whole thing about Purdue, though. I do think they're going to take a huge step forward, and Nebraska's going to take a big step back.
No, I agree. I think that Purdue is going to take a step forward, but I'm not going to say they're taking such a big step forward that they make a bowl game. That's what I'm saying. Nebraska will make a bowl game. At minimum, they will do that. I think they have enough there to do it. Purdue's not making a goddamn bowl game after going 2-10 a year ago. They'll go 4-8, maybe 5-7, and crash out like they usually do. Besides, did you hear what the fuck the Purdue AD said the other week?
That confidence I like. That confidence I like.
It's dumb confidence.
We shat on Cignetti for the same exact thing. Kirk Cignetti, all he does is talk shit. Well, he backed that up, okay? I think it's a different thing to see anybody from Purdue showing confidence in their team. There you go. It's a different feel, a different vibe.
Is it confidence or is it delusion? I'll leave it to the fans to decide.
Saying that you can't get championships at Indiana does have to at least have a little bit of delusion, but yeah. But that's why, again, this is why we call this a bold take. I wouldn't say we'll come back to this during the season, but if I wound up being wrong about this, I'm sure the comments will do just that anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, let's move on to number 4, shall we? And Red, do not say anything until after I finish the daggum sentence, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I'll do my best.
Here we go. All right. Number 4, US. Shut up. USC makes the playoffs, but no further. So they make it to the playoffs, but they don't win a playoff game. That's my bold take on Southern Cal. Red, go ahead and say what you got to say because I know you're holding back your emotions. Spit it out.
Why? Why are you giving that fucking hack any sort of hope? What are you doing to me? You literally are like taking a needle and hitting every single fucking nerve in my hand right now.
Do you really think do you really think Lincoln Riley is just that bad of a coach?
Yes, I do. I fucking do.
He's made the playoffs multiple times.
With
Oklahoma.
How do you forget that? With Oklahoma, with Bob Stoops' old fucking roster.
What?
He only made the playoffs once as a head coach. Bob Stoops was the fucking head coach for the other appearances, wasn't he?
No. I think he made it more than once at Oklahoma.
Hang on. Let me look this up. How many? Hang on.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. And while you're doing that, I'll explain to everybody why I'm so high on Southern Cal. And a lot of this is due to the fact that I think a lot of USC's major talent from last year is coming back for this year. Jaden Mayava, he had he led in a bunch of conference stats last season, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And he's coming back for this year. He's got a lot of weapons also returning, plus Terrell Anderson from the transfer portal, who I think is going to be a significant asset for their squad. They got a really good recruiting class that came in from last year. Now they've got some of those guys coming in for this season. They have got depth all across the board. Again, people are going to troll me about Lincoln Riley, and I understand. That's why I said they're not going to win a playoff game. But with how favorable their schedule is, I could see him running through most of those teams. They start out with San Jose State, Fresno State, Louisiana, and Rutgers on the road. They're going 4-0. But then they play Oregon and Washington in back-to-back weeks. They might lose one or two or both of those games. Penn State on the road and Happy Valley. Now, if they lose to Penn State, then obviously I'm wrong about this. Because then, of course, they got to play Ohio State and Indiana as well down the road. But I could definitely see Southern Cal grabbing a upset or more. They've got a talented squad coming back for this year. And yes, this is a very, very good call right here. USC has got themselves the best defensive coordinator that they could have, Gary Patterson. If USC is going to have a functional defense at any point under Lincoln Riley, this is the year for it. So we'll see. See, that seems reasonable, right?
I still respectfully disagree. First off, I was corrected in the chat and also by Google. He made 3 straight playoffs at Oklahoma as the head coach. I had forgotten that bit because he made himself fucking irrelevant. Okay, look, I don't have any faith in USC just because of the way things have gone with USC. They came in 2022, went 11-2, won the pack, within one Pac-12 game of the playoff, right? 8-5 in 23, 7-6, 24, 9-4 last year. So he did come back up a little bit. I genuinely do not feel like USC has done enough to beat the big dogs on their schedule. I think, games against Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, shit. I even think they're going to have a hard time against Penn State. And if you lose 4 games, you're not making the goddamn playoff in any conference, let alone the Big Ten.
But I don't think they're losing 4 games.
I genuinely I have a hard time believing that they're going to be able to beat one of those teams. If they can get to 9-3, sure, they might have a fucking chance. But they're still going to have to go up against guys in the SEC that are 9-3. And you know how the goddamn playoffs see the SEC. They're still going to see them as superior, even if and when there's evidence to the contrary.
All right, Red. Let me ask you this, okay?
Okay.
Do you think there's going to be 4 teams in the Big Ten that are going to make this year's playoffs?
No.
You don't? Okay.
No.
Because I was going to ask you if you did, then I was going to say because Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana are going to be the favorites for that. And
Correct.
If you were to name a 4th team that was going to make that spot in the playoffs, there are a lot of people in here and a lot of people in general who would say that 4th team would be USC.
Yes, I would understand why they might think that, but I also don't think USC is going to have enough wins and too many losses to make the cut line compared to say if fucking Georgia goes 9-3 or an Alabama goes 9-3 again. I don't, because once you're at that point, man, you're on the fucking bubble and you're leaving it up to the odd makers, and the odd makers are going to be the ones that decide, yeah, no, fuck you. BYU or Notre Dame's going to get in because Notre Dame gets in at number 12 regardless. So I'm not saying USC is going to be terrible. They're not going to be dog water. They're going to be better than Nebraska. I could confidently say that much, but I just don't see how they're going to be able to snipe their way into the playoff with this schedule. If they weren't playing Ohio State, if they weren't playing Indiana, yeah, sure, but then you get into strength of schedule arguments. And there's other conferences besides the Big Ten to worry about. So they're close. They're not quite there. I understand the argument with Gary Patterson. Great coach. I get it, but I just don't see it happening with what I know right now.
Well, I guess we're due to find out. I do think, though, that one of, if it's not USC, then it would be one of those top 15, top 20 Big Ten teams that will end up sneaking in there to the playoffs, whether it's Penn State, Washington, or Michigan. One of them will, I think, will.
Michigan is somebody else. I think everybody continues to try to give a little more credit than what they're doing. I'm not saying that because I'm a biased Buckeye either. I'm saying that because the program is a fucking train wreck.
Yeah,
Let's move on.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms I don't feel like opening because we got to get to number 3 here. And this is more of a prediction to what I think is going to happen and less of a record thing because I do think this team's actually going to be pretty good. But Michigan. Thank you for that. But I feel like the time is coming sooner or later. I called this last season and I was wrong. I feel like I'm going to keep calling it until I'm actually right. So here you go. Number 3. This will be Kirk Ferentz' final year at Iowa. And no, this is not a Dave Doran situation to where I think he does bad and gets fired. I actually think this year's Iowa squad is one of the better teams. I didn't mention it when I was talking about teams in that bubble that can make the playoffs. Iowa is there. They've got a great defense coming back. They finally have some sort of offensive momentum with Jeremy Hecklinski coming back to play. Plus, they've also got Hank Brown. So they've got it's going to be an interesting quarterback battle. We don't know who's going to win it, but I would have to say Hecklinski is going to wound up winning that. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that. But they've got some offensive weapons along with them. Kamari Moulton is really good, and I see a lot of potential from him. Got a great defense. But again, it didn't matter, and none of that actually matters because even if Iowa winds up having a really good season, I think it's gotten to the point now to where Ferentz is probably, no matter how this season goes, I think he's going to end up passing the torch to somebody else, whether it's one of his coordinators or if he's just going to say it midway through the season that he's going to be done at Iowa. I think at some point this season he's going to retire.
I don't totally think that this is a horrible take. I just think that there's something we're forgetting here. His contract runs until 2029, so you'd be walking away from money being left on the table. Iowa's not going to fire Kirk Ferentz as much as we might think that he should be fired. They're never going to fire him. He's been there for damn near 30 years now. So I know he is as much a part of Iowa as the fucking cornfields outside the stadium at this point. He's not going anywhere at all. And he even said publicly, like somebody asked him, I think in December, if he's going to leave Iowa anytime soon. And he's like, nah, I don't even go fucking golfing. Why would I do that? So he's not, no matter what the result is, they could win a national title. And if they win a national title, then sure, I'm sure he'll be like, you know what? I'm good. Going to retire at the top. No big deal. Not saying Iowa would win a national title. I'm not delusional, but it would take either a national championship or a fucking 0-12 season to get rid of Kirk Ferentz. That's my opinion.
Well, then I guess we'll see in due time. But yeah, I'm sticking by that. I do think he's going to go ahead and call it after the season or during it.
The first two made my shit go berserk over here. This one is a lot bit more reasonable. I just still mildly disagree.
All right. Well, let's see what you think about this next one. So, number 2, this is not a team prediction, rather a player prediction. I did a few of these, but yeah, this is one of them right here. And this is actually pretty fair, I would have to say, but we'll see what Red thinks about it. Number 2, Dante Moore is a Heisman Trophy finalist. Yeah, sort of reasonable, right? Yeah, no, I'd have to say so. At least from your perspective. Yeah, so just a little bit of explanation here. Dante Moore is, he's got a lot of weapons on his squad, obviously, both on offense and on defense. And part of what goes into voting for the Heisman Trophy now is a player on a team that is really, really good or really, really highly ranked. And Oregon, at least from most people's perspectives, is going to be a team that's going to wound up finishing the season at least somewhere ranked in the top 10, if not higher. They're going to be a really, really good team this year. They're the most stacked squad probably of anybody in college football right now. They're going to start the season in the top 5, if not better. They've got a lot of favorable matchups. And plus, the main thing is Moore has a lot of targets to throw to. Takarian Moore, Evan Stewart, Jeremiah McClellan, the list goes on. He's got a lot of targets to throw to. And of course, can't forget Jamar Johnson either. So the Duckies are loaded this year, and having Dante Moore come back for another season instead of hitting the draft, I think is going to prove very, very worthy to him. I thought about going the extra step and saying that he winds up winning the Heisman Trophy, but I held back on that just because you never know with Heisman Trophy voters. But I am very high on Dante Moore. I think he's going to wind up being one of those 4 guys that makes it to New York.
He's definitely one of the top quarterbacks in the country. I can't disagree here. I think if Oregon comes out, they win, they go undefeated or lose only 1 game, and he puts up, 35, 40 touchdowns in a fucking season with very few mistakes. It's possible. I'd say he's well within range of getting to New York. It's going to come down to a couple of factors. How many games do they actually win being the main thing there? The schedule is favorable. I think they get a nice little test to start with Boise State, sure. But then after that, they got USC at LA Memorial. I mean, you can always, flip a coin at that one, but they should be able to handle business. Another one they got is Illinois in Illinois. Illinois has been a little bit of a pain in the ass lately. Ohio State. Oh, God. Michigan, that's at home, so it's doable. And then Washington being the fucking wild card. Everything else on there, they should win. So I think that there's plenty of upside on that prediction. I dare say games against, like Oklahoma State, UCLA, Northwestern, Michigan State, that's where he's going to absolutely showcase his fucking skills and just go the fuck off. So I don't think you're wrong to say he's a finalist. I think he will be. So I'll agree with you here.
All right, that's a first. Yeah. Other than the one that you gave, fair. That's the first time Red actually agrees with me.
Yeah, no, it's completely fair to argue that. He's one of the top 5 in the country, and if, Oregon does the things that they're supposed to do with the fucking arsenal the size of the U.S. fucking military that they got this year, this is probably going to be one of the best Oregon teams of all time, on paper at least.
Yeah.
So if he could come out and ball, then sure, I would see him as one of the finals.
And the greatest news for Oregon fans is that, once Oregon eventually shits the bed in the playoffs, it's not going to matter because the Heisman Trophy voting is going to be before the playoffs anyway. So, yeah. All right.
Woo!
Well, here we go, Red. You've been waiting on this one. Here's number 1.
I already know I'm going to hate this one. No.
Now, I didn't go too far and above with this, but I did make it pretty bold, or at least as bold as, as I thought reasonable. And so it is. So I want, again,
you're going to piss me off with this, aren't you?
Well, we'll see. But yeah, no, wait until I'm done to say something. All right, here we go. Number 1 for my Big Ten Bowl predictions, Ohio State will be traveling for their college football playoff openers. That means they will be one of the teams that travels to somebody rather than hosting for the college football playoffs. And let's see what Red has to say about that first. All righty, great. Well said.
You really are pissing me off, son. You're really gonna piss me the fuck off with that prediction. I swear to God, if I ain't a goddamn son of a bitch, that is one of the worst things you could have said about my Buckeyes. Yeah, no, fuck you.
Sorry.
That's a bad take.
First of all, I don't think Ohio State's going 12-0. I don't think that whatsoever.
No, I don't think that's going to happen either. I think we might lose to Indiana. Genuinely, we might go 11-1 with the loss to Indiana. All right.
So first thing I was going to say is Ohio State's got a talented squad. They always have a talented squad. You can rely on that with Ryan Day. He's going to always have talent. Jeremiah Smith, he's probably the best wide receiver in the country this season. Julian Sayin, I think he's got questions, but he's still he's shown definite upsides, of course. Bo Jackson's pretty good. They've got a great offensive line. But Ohio State lost a ton of talent through the NFL last year. They are replacing a lot of those pieces through the transfer portal. And yes, a lot of those players are pretty daggum good players. Earl Little Jr., John Walker, James Smith. You've got some good guys coming in on that defense, but you're replacing a lot of talent. And unfortunately for you, this is going up against a schedule that is going to be pretty daggum brutal You already know Texas is looking for revenge. You got to go to Texas, who you already know is going to wound up being a top 5 team, and you travel to them. Plus, you got to play Iowa on the road, Indiana on the road, Southern Cal on the road. You get Oregon at home, and of course, you got to play Michigan as well. Ohio State has got a very, very hard path all the way through the playoffs, and they're going to win some of these games. They're going to beat some top teams. But I think we're looking at a scenario where Ohio State could wound up going 10-2. And here's the thing, if they're 10-2 and their 2 losses are Texas and Indiana, then I'm probably wrong about this anyway. They're probably still going to host once it comes time for playoffs. However, if they lose to somebody like Texas, but then also lose to a team like Iowa or Southern Cal or somebody they've got no business losing to, then suddenly that conversation changes. And with the new playoff bids and how the system works now, especially with Notre Dame, we could be looking at a situation where Ohio State is sitting there as like a 9 or a 10 seed and having to travel to somewhere like South Bend. That could absolutely happen. You know what I mean? I know what I mean. I could have said Ohio State loses to Michigan for my bold take, so you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for not going full stupid on me. I do appreciate that. Look, I'm not totally going to sit here and say that you're wrong and that that's impossible, because this is Ohio State we're talking about, and they found a way to really make me look like a fucking dumbass last year. What I am going to say is that looking at this schedule, I'm not going to be worried unless we lose to Texas. All right, if we lose to Texas, I'm going to be a little bit worried, because then we got to, upset somebody. Then we have to beat Indiana. Then we have to beat Oregon. And, if we fuck the ball and lose one or 2 of those games, then sure. It's not a totally unreasonable thing to predict. I just hate it because of, duh. Right? Like, I fucking hate that. Thank you for not being full stupid and saying they're going to lose to Michigan. I do appreciate that, because that's definitely not going to fucking happen. And I really hope we don't lose to Indiana, because if we do, Mo's going to have my fucking ass. But I feel, here's what I feel like, okay? If we go 10-2, something went fucking wrong. Because either we're good enough to host a playoff game or we're not in the playoff at all. That's my opinion. Genuinely. Either we host a playoff game or we're not going to be in it. And the reason for that is because we would have to, if we lose to, say, Texas in week 2, and then we drop the ball against Indiana, the last half after the bye week in October is not gimmies. At USC, Oregon, Michigan's always a goddamn coin flip. No matter how good or bad they are, because it's the rivalry. So, and Julian Sayin does not instill a fuck ton of confidence in me this year. I really don't understand why he was a Heisman finalist last year, still, to be blunt with you.
Because he was a quarterback on a very highly ranked, talented team. You know how this works.
Exactly.
Stetson Bennett was a Heisman finalist just because he was at Georgia. So, yeah, no, that's how that works.
Fair enough, but I also want to see our offensive line do a hell of a lot better than what they did against Miami in the fucking Cotton. Let's move on.
All right. Well, that does it with the Big Ten. Let's go ahead and move on over to the Big 12.
Thank God.
And all right. Well, got some bold predictions here as well. And we're starting out with a fresh one here. I mentioned Nebraska falling off. Here's another team that I think is going to fall off this year. Somebody's going to be mad about this, but I got to do it anyway. First Big 12 prediction, number 5, Utah falls apart, misses a bowl game. I am not sold on Utah this season. I think they got the shaft when it came to the Kyle Whittingham situation, and I think losing a lot of their talented pieces, plus a lot of other things, has put them in a very, very tough spot. Plus, they've got a first-year head coach who has no business coaching. They kind of just threw him in out of random. This could be an ugly year for the Utes, is what I'm basically trying to say. I think Devon Dampier has shown potential, but again, it's another one of those things to where the talent around him could wound up being his undoing. It's one of those circumstances. They've got a veteran team, but they don't have a veteran coach to go along with it. Plus, they've got a schedule that doesn't benefit them in most capacities. They could be looking at a situation where they lose at home to Arkansas week 2. It's okay. It's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. They'll be favored in that game. I think they'll win it, but they could be looking at a possibility there. And if they do wound up blowing that game, then 100% I'm going to be right about this. Plus, then after that, they've got some really, really tough games down the stretch. Iowa State, they got Kansas after a bye week. Then you got Cincinnati on the road, BYU, Arizona on the road, TCU on the road. I have no idea how much, how developed West Virginia is going to be, but that could be a tough one at the end of the season as well. To me, this looks like a very, very upcoming ugly year for Utah. That's where I stand on that development. Thank you.
There's not been enough goddamn development at Utah. I agree. Utah at best is going 6-6. They got nuked when Whittingham fucked off to that team up north. They got absolutely nuked. And that team has been honestly circling the drain for quite some time, especially after the issues they had at quarterback for like 2 or 3 years straight. So many question marks. I don't disagree with this prediction. It's not too crazy to think. I'm honestly thinking the Arkansas prediction was more crazy than what the hell you already said before that. Like, wait a minute, you're saying that Arkansas on the road in Utah at night is going to beat Utah in week 2 with a brand new head coach. You sure about that? It's a bit bold to say. You're investing a lot in
I called a bold
there.
Prediction.
Yeah, you're investing a lot in pig time there. There's bold predictions, and then there's giving somebody a little too much credit, and I think that's what we're doing with Arkansas there. But
I think Silverfield will. I think he has upsides to him. I just don't think he'll show it immediately. I'm not, for the record, I'm not even picking Arkansas to win that game, but it'll be closer than I think people expect. That's all I can really say about that. All right, moving on here. Let's go to number 4, and again, it's one of those things where I labeled this as a bold prediction. But a lot of you in here are probably going to wound up agreeing with me on this, and that includes Red. Number 4, this will be Deion Sanders' final year at Colorado. And no, this is not a Kirk Ferentz situation. I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's going to get canned. I think he is going to get fired from Colorado. And there's a variety of reasons that I can go ahead and say to go ahead and explain that to you. But the obvious one here being that if you look at the way Colorado is run, it's a complete and total clown show. Up until now, they've had a bunch of media stars running the whole daggum show. Deion finally hired somebody who knows what they're doing, hired a couple of guys who know what they're doing. But this is a sinking ship. He's building this team entirely from the transfer portal. And last year, it failed miserably. The first year he was there, he failed miserably. The only time that it actually succeeded, the only time was because of the fact that Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter wound up being really, really good players, really talented players. But here's the problem. They're not there anymore. Their numbers have been retired. So that isn't working out in their favor. Another thing is Colorado is going to likely be starting a freshman quarterback in Julian Lewis, and he's got upsides to him. But again, this is another example of nothing around him. No coaching, no development, and no weapons. So I think there's some significant problems with Colorado, and their schedule does them no favors either. They play not one, but two opponents in the Power Four for their non-con. They got to go to Georgia Tech in Atlanta to start the year, which, mind you, Georgia Tech beat them in Colorado last year. Now they got to travel to Atlanta. They also got to play Northwestern on the road as well. So yeah, there are some tough stretches along the way. They've got to play Texas Tech and Baylor to open up their conference opponents. Plus, they've also got Utah, Kansas State, Arizona State on the road, Cincinnati on the road, Houston at home. Like, this is a brutal, brutal stretch. And mixed in with the fact that I don't think Colorado is a serious program, it's not going to take long in my eyes for them to fall off.
Yeah,
I saw your dog get attacking you there. Yeah,
yeah. He
seemed to agree.
Decided that he wanted to get his 5 minutes of fame after he got a haircut last week. So yeah, whatever. Good boy, I guess. Yeah, Chief is a fucking moron. Sometimes I swear.
There you go.
I'm not a moron.
Damn, you got called out.
What do we always say about Chief? Smooth brain, no edges, right?
Yeah, why don't you quit talking shit about your dog and talk some shit about Colorado?
Okay, fine. I'll talk some shit about Colorado. I'm sorry. I say that with the most fucking love possible, by the way. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The only reason why Deion would go and up the river this season is if they went 3-9 again or worse. Or if Deion's health deteriorated further. They would have to do worse than last year, or Deion's health would have to absolutely not get better. And honestly, I feel like Deion's health is going to be the biggest factor here. If his health continues to decline like it did last year for a while, that's going to be obviously that's a shame. And, we obviously don't want, bad for Deion. But at a certain point, if his health is not there and he needs to take care of himself, then he's not going to be fucking there. But if we're talking strictly from a performance standpoint, yeah, they're going to have to do worse than last year to do that. And I don't think that's going to happen per se. I don't think there's a huge chance of that happening.
He might leave on his own accord, honestly. I saw this video, and of course, this is something we all predicted the moment he got hired and the moment Shedeur Sanders went to the Cleveland Browns. We saw a video of Deion on the practice field with Shedeur at the Browns practice facility, helping him throw the ball. That's if he's going anywhere after he's done at Colorado, I can assure you that's his next destination right there, is going to the Cleveland Browns.
NFL as an assistant coach? Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Well, all right. I don't know if an NFL squad would put up with that, even Cleveland. I mean, the nepotism would be real, but whatever.
We got to stop talking about Colorado now, because if we keep going, we're going to get one of my favorite things about Colorado fans, and when it comes to the Deion stands, they'll tell you the same thing every time. You're only talking about Colorado because it's going to give you engagement, Squidtard. It's a real comment that I've gotten that apparently I only talk about Colorado because it gives me engagement. Now, Red, correct me if I'm wrong, but what do you often look for when you're doing making content on the internet? What's that word? It starts with the E. I just said it a minute ago. Yeah, you don't even need to answer that. You guys know it. So let's go ahead and move on to number 3, shall we? All right. Number 3 here in my Big 12 bold predictions. And this is a funny one for a variety of reasons, but I had to talk about this squad and this player in particular. Number 3, DJ Lagway saves Dave Aranda's job. Dave Aranda is a head coach right now. He's Schrodinger's coach. He's constantly being extended and fired at the same time. He's right back on the hot seat after last year's season with Baylor. He actually wound up having it was another one of those up and down type of seasons where he looks good, then he doesn't, looks good, then he doesn't, looks good, then he doesn't. Well, it's another one of those years this season. And now that he lost Sawyer Robinson, he brought in transfer quarterback from Florida, DJ Wrongway. Well, Lagway has shown potential. Even under the tutelage of Billy Napier, he has shown potential if he's got actual weapons along with him. And I think he does have a bit of that. And I think the highest tier weapon that he's got isn't even a wide receiver, but rather a running back in Dawson Pendergrass. I think he is a very, very good running back, and he's going to help out that Baylor offense quite a significant bit. If there's anything to be concerned about with the Bears, it's the defensive side of the football. And unless they're playing a team like Texas Tech or Houston, most of those teams in there are offensive juggernauts. They're offense heavy. That's what they're doing, and that's what they're all about. So I think Baylor is in good company when it comes to just focusing entirely on offense. And again, it's another one of those situations where their schedule has shown favors. Now, they start out the year with Auburn. Again, Auburn beat them last year, and that threw a lot of predictions off about Baylor. But now we enter this year, and they play in a neutral site in Atlanta. Baylor could very well win that game, get the revenge, get the jump on Golish as a new head coach, and get Aranda back on the right track, because if they beat Auburn, he's already 1 foot back into the facilities at Baylor. All he needs to do past that point is win a couple more games, and he's set for the next season. So that, in my eyes, I think DJ Lagway is going to probably end up popping off against that Auburn defense and several more defenses down the stretch. I think he's going to wind up saving Aranda's job for the foreseeable future, at least the next year.
I'm just going to say this right now. They just got to win 6 games to keep Aranda. Like, the bar is so hilariously low right now. They just got to get to a bowl game, and I think he'll keep his job, because the last couple of years, it's been, like you said, it's been real back and forth. 5-7 last year. They went to a bowl in 24 and then fucking tanked in 23. So I feel like that he should already have been fired, frankly, because he's not giving what he was promised. I mean, this guy came in from LSU after 2019, organizing one of the best defenses in college football at that time, and he's absolutely shat himself at every opportunity since then. It's been more than enough time. He's had a couple of rosters that he's been able to build completely on his own. Now he's got a new defensive coordinator, and again, DJ Lagway coming in, which again, we'll give DJ shit because he's not the greatest quarterback in the world, but damn it, he's serviceable, at least in the right system. Is Baylor going to be the right system to finally make Lagway succeed and potentially do something? You only have to do a lot, just something? I don't fucking know. It's such a fucking coin. I'm not even going to try to pretend to be like, oh yeah, they're going to fucking suck her. Oh yeah, they're going to do great. I don't have a fucking clue with Baylor. They are about as big of a fucking wild card as the goddamn Joker. So I wait and see. It's 50-50 on if Aranda actually gets fired. He's lucky to still be there at all, though.
No, I can absolutely agree with that, which is why I think Lagway going to come in and save it for him. All right, number 2. This is another player one, and it's got something to do with a team that is heavily underlooked this season, and a lot of that is due for the same reasons that Utah is. However, because this team has significant talent on offense, I think this will actually go the opposite direction for them. Bowl prediction number 2. Avery Johnson at Kansas State will lead the conference in total yards. Now, in case y'all don't know anything about Avery Johnson, dual threat quarterback out of Kansas State. Colin Klein is getting the start there. He was originally a coordinator at A&M. Now he's coming in to get his first start as a head coach over at Kansas State, where they just had Chris Kleeman retire. So Avery Johnson is heavily underlooked because Kansas State last year was not exactly a dumpster fire, but they weren't far from it. They lost to Army, and then ever since, everything just sort of went down the shitter.
They also lost in Ireland, which gave them the Irish curse, and they got corned by the beef. So there you go.
There you go. That'll lead you down the wrong path. But Avery Johnson, in a surprising turn of events, rather than going to the NFL, has chosen to return for his senior year. Now, that is a bit of a surprise. It is pretty bold by him. But what I think is going to be bold is that I think he is going to wound up leading the conference in total yards. And a lot of this does, in fairness, depend on how well Joe Jackson develops. And in case you don't know who that is, starting running back for Kansas State. And again, it's part of it is also dependent on the style of offense that Kansas State runs. We don't know if they're going to let Avery Johnson run around with the football like I think they will. They may not do that. They may just try and do what they're, the usual formation of just letting the running back try and do all the work for him. But Johnson's got weapons, including his own legs. He's got a bunch of brand new talent through the wide receiver core that's going to help him out quite a significant bit. They've got a defense that's helpful in some degree. And the best part, they've got a favorable schedule which dodges the best defenses in the conference. They don't play Texas Tech, nor do they play BYU. Probably their toughest defense that they've got to go up against would probably end up being Houston. It's either Houston or TCU. And those are decent defenses. So to me, I think it's very well within possibility that the Wildcats could have a really good year with Avery Johnson at the helm.
I think that they can have a little bit of a bounce back year this season and not be so shit like they were last year. Number one, they're not playing in Ireland again. That's a win, right? But also because last year they were pegged to be one of the top in the conference, and they just completely fell apart. So I disagree only because Bear Bachmeyer plays for BYU. And I think that kid's going to have a really, really good season this year. Like, last season, he kind of came out of nowhere and was making some very, very excellent plays, putting himself on the line, doing his best Fernando Mendoza impression. Now he's got the offseason to get better, and BYU is my favorite to win the Big 12 right now, genuinely. Like, they're going to be great this year, so it's going to be tough for me to agree with you, only not because Avery Johnson isn't good, but because of the quality of quarterback at BYU. So we'll see.
Somebody mentioned what Colin Klein did against Miami at A&M. Yes, but again, I told you guys just a second ago, he dodges the best defenses from the conference. He's not going to play a defense this year that's near as good as what Miami had from last season. I think we can all agree with that.
Also, don't you remember there was like a hurricane-level winds in that playoff game? So it kind of doesn't fucking matter how good or bad they did on offense, unless you could run the ball. That was really all you could do. Yeah. I mean, the ball was being sent 90 degrees the wrong way.
I mean, we're talking about a guy. Yeah, we're talking about a guy that worked with Marcel Reed, which is in a lot of similar ways a quarterback just like Avery Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also kind of like Klein's homecoming. I mean, he played for Kansas State as a quarterback. He's got the athletic department fully behind him, not just because he's an alumni, but because of his work at Texas A&M. I think that Kansas State's going to have a good year. Not great. They're not winning the conference, but they'll be good.
Well, we'll find out in due time. All right, here's my top bold prediction here for the Big 12. And it's not a team prediction, but it's a conference prediction.
Brendan Soares regains eligibility.
Now, Steve, that could shift this final prediction, but you never know. Here we go.
Ooh.
Number one, the Big 12 will have 2 reps in the college football playoffs. So, 2 reps in the college football playoffs. I think you guys know that I'm going to list one of them off the bat as BYU.
Oh yeah,
very, very high on BYU this year, as Red just previously mentioned. Bear Bachmeyer returning for another season, and the Bear was really good last year as a freshman. He's got a lot of potential this year as well. Plus, he's got quite a bit of talent returning, both on the wide receiver core, of course, on the running back system. L.J. Martin coming back is huge. BYU, in my eyes, is the favorite to win the Big 12. Now, the second part of this is very dependent on who you guys think that second team is going to be. Now, a lot of people rationally are saying Texas Tech. Despite the fact that they did lose Brendan Sorsby, of course, with everything that happened in the previous few weeks, Texas Tech still got a pretty daggum good defense. They've got some weapons around them that can help out, and they have a laughably easy schedule. So they can probably run through most of their schedule, make it to the Big 12 championship, maybe get the jump on BYU, or vice versa, and then both of those teams could wind up making the college football playoffs. The other scenario, of course, would be if there is a team that nobody expects from the Big 12, which this kind of does become a thing every so often. We saw it with Arizona State 2 years ago, saw it with TCU 4 years ago. You could have a team from basically out of batshit nowhere that comes up and just blows everybody's expectations out the window. Somebody like Cincinnati, or Oklahoma State, or Arizona State again. You never really know with the Big 12. But we could be looking at a scenario where you have BYU or Texas Tech, or both, or another team from that conference, both wound up making the college football playoffs.
I don't disagree with this at all. I think this is a fair, bold take, but I will say I think I got my pick for who BYU's dance partner would be if it's not Texas Tech, because I'm going to be real, I don't think Texas Tech, with the chaos they had this offseason and the fucking bullshit they were dealing with, I don't know if they even make it to the Big 12 championship this year. I don't think that's going to be in the cards. You know who I do think BYU's dance partner is going to be? One of the worst goddamn 10-win teams last season, but yet you fucking heard of them, the Houston Cougs. I think with Connor Wegman coming back, they could be sneaky as all hell this year. If they get a couple of things going in the right direction, Houston, I think, could be in the playoff if they are to, go 10-2 or 11-1.
Yeah,
that would be, I think, very doable.
I deliberately didn't mention them because I think they're third in the Big 12 odds. So they aren't necessarily this like super duper sneaky team that could wound up doing well better of expectations.
No.
Houston, like this preseason, there's a lot of eyes on them. So that's why I didn't mention them.
No, but I also think that no one really takes them seriously. I mean, I don't take them seriously.
There's a reason for that, but
but I don't take them seriously. And I mean, Arizona also has a case to make. I mean, they're also really, really good. The only thing that I would dig them on is the fact that they had a lot of defense get drafted into the NFL this offseason, so it's going to be harder for them to stop the offense. So they're a distant, fourth for me in terms of like contenders. But yeah, I think Houston would be a realistic dance partner with BYU if we're going to have two contenders for the playoff for the Big 12. I don't think that's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Rationally so. All right, that is all of our Big 12 bowl predictions. Now it's time for the last one. The different leagues. The SEC. Now, all right. Well, I guess we're going to start out with this one, and I feel like we should just go ahead and run into it. I mentioned, again, bowl predictions, but in my humble opinion, this is one that I think a lot of people are going to immediately agree on, and it's because a lot of it is because of Sports Center. Shout out to them. But starting out with the SEC bowl predictions, number 5.
God damn it.
Arch Manning is a Heisman Trophy finalist. And I think we can all agree on that. And not even whether or not you think he's going to be a great quarterback, which I do think he actually is going to be really good. I saw his performance against Michigan's defense last season. If he plays like that through the rest or through this season, yeah, he might win the whole thing. But Arch Manning, really good in most cases, running back. I was going to say quarterback, but let's be honest, he runs the football a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He's got some significant talent coming with him this year. Of course, Ryan Wingo's returning for another season. Cam Coleman comes in from Auburn, and he had a really good year with the Barn. Now he's coming to Texas to help out with that passing game. The only thing that could deter Arch Manning from having some really, really good stats at Texas would be if Sark decides to run the ball a whole lot more, because he's got two pretty underrated running backs in that system, Malik Brown and Hollywood Smothers. Whichever one gets the start, I suppose it really wouldn't matter, because I think both of them are going to get some significant yards. But yeah, no, you guys know it better than I do. You already know Sports Center and ESPN are going to be spending all this season giving the glock to Arch Manning. We know that's going to be the case. So they're going to be running the propaganda machine. If Texas, because you know that they're going to be one of the most talented teams this year, if they wound up going if they're on schedule and they wound up being a team that's in there sitting to make the playoffs, then Arch Manning will 100% in my eyes be a Heisman finalist.
Dude, the reaction in chat said all that you could say. You know what they're all telling you right now? That is ridiculous.
You really what? You really think so?
No. I called the chat's reaction ridiculous. Let's put ESPN.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, guys. I would love to say, yeah, no, fuck you, Squidtard. You're wrong, and I can't tell him he's wrong here. Okay, let's just call a spade, okay? Texas is going to be a really good team this year. As much as ESPN has been riding Arch Manning's cock for all it's worth, they're going to be good. He's going to be a good quarterback. He was a little green last year. He's got the experience under his belt. He really matured pretty well throughout the season. There's a lot to like about it. I don't want to say he's going to win the goddamn Heisman, because that's what ESPN's trying to pass off. But I do think that there is enough to say he's going to be in New York. I would say. Is that safe to say on here, Red? We're not monetized anyway, so who gives a fuck?
No, don't do the thing again, please.
Get the copyrighted song of yeah. I'm just kidding. I deleted it. I deleted it because if there's one
I can't
thing
ever
I
tell
don't,
with you.
if there's one thing I don't want to do, Squid, it's owe you more money because guess what? What the barnacles?
That makes it 3 times, guys. 3 times he's played that through this.
I love it
show.
so much. I'm sorry.
I believe it. Don't trust me. You don't have to convince me of that. All right, but yeah, and I think a lot of people can agree Arch gonna wound up being a Heisman finalist. I think there's a lot of minds that agree on that. This is where that's going to split up pretty fast. I think there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with this next one. So I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. I've been shitting on this team quite a bit, so I feel like I should throw him a bone. But yeah, here you go. Number 4, Alex Golish.
What the? I'm sorry.
Could you let me finish for fuck's sake? Dadgummit, man.
God.
Alex Golish leads Auburn back to bowl eligibility. So I think, in conclusion, I think Auburn wins at least 6 games this season. So, as you guys know, I have been shitting heavily on the barn for the fact that they hired Tim Banks. Now, the thing about Tim Banks is I love to make the jab at them for hiring him as a co-defensive coordinator, but it's worth mentioning I said co-defensive coordinator because, of course, Kevin Steele is also there, and he's the main guy running the system. Their defense is still going to be ass. Not denying that. But the way I picture Auburn this season is sort of the same way that I would picture a lot of teams from the Big 12 from last decade. They are a glass cannon. I think their offense is going to be hovering around top 5 in the conference. They've got a lot of big-time players coming in from South Florida that are going to potentially shapeshift the entire offensive scheme at the barn. First of all, Byron Brown's coming in, and as you guys know, as you guys saw, showed a lot of potential there at South Florida. They're bringing in tons and tons of players from that system. On top of that, Jeremiah Cobb stuck around. So did the transfer running back Bryson Washington from Baylor. So safe to say, the barn has got quite a bit of talent, and they've got one of the top offensive minds, in my eyes, that is running the whole show. So whether or not that comes to fruition, I guess we'll find out in due time. Now, when I say Auburn returns to bowl eligibility, you guys know the schedule comes into mind as well. It's the SEC, so naturally they're going to have to go through some pretty tough ranked teams, including their rivals. So they've got to play Georgia. Not confident in them winning that game. Neither am that confident about beating like Ole Miss or potentially LSU, even though they host them at home, or Alabama. But they get some games here that I think they could very well potentially win. We mentioned Baylor not that long ago. Baylor is a game that I think they can absolutely win. They host Florida. If you know anything about my opinions on Florida, I think they're heavily overrated. I think they can win that game. Vandy has had Auburn's number for quite a bit, of course, with Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia has had Auburn's number and will continue to do so for all of time. But Vandy no longer has Pavia. They have, at least in my eyes, what's going to be there and end up being their starting quarterback, true freshman Jared Curtis. So whether or not he gets a starter, if it's the other guy, a lot of questions with Vandy. I think they're going to take a big step back. They've got a way to win that. So Auburn could be 4-0 heading into that matchup against Tennessee in Neyland Stadium. And Tennessee obviously has no business winning that or losing that game in my eyes because it's at home for us. You get the idea. I'm not going to go over that. But they say they lose to Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, and Alabama. Their last 3 games, they've got to win. So let's see. They got to win 2 of these. Samford, Arkansas, and Mississippi State and Starkville. I think they can win all 3 of those. So they'd be looking at 6 or 7 wins in my eyes. So, Red, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you're wrong. I'm sorry. Look, it's not so much that they the schedule is rough. I just don't know if the boys they brought over from South Florida are going to be good enough to compete with the boys in the SEC and get them to 6 wins. I think it's going to be a rough first year with Goalish, genuinely. I mean, look, we could call Florida overrated, but I still think, Florida might be able to eke out a win there. You got 2 teams that with brand new coaches coming in. It's still going to be kind of rough. Vanderbilt's probably going to be a loss too, because even though they did lose a little bit, they lost Diego Pavia. They're not god awful. It's not a fucking for sure thing there. And right there, that immediately would. And I mean, the Baylor game is going to be a big wild card too. Like, if they can't beat Baylor, you might as well turn out the fucking lights. And that's week 1.
Yeah, if they lose to Baylor, it's going to be hard for me to say that they'll make a bowl. So that game is all the importance and trying to get there. I think at that point, if they don't win that game, they'd have to grab a significant upset over somebody, and that obviously shows quite a bit of problems there. So I guess we'll see in due time. All right, moving on to number 3. And this is another one of those things where, I'm pretty high on a team, but I'm not very discreet about who I think they're going to beat. Anyway, number 3, here are my SEC Bowl predictions. Kentucky takes down one top 15 or higher team. Now, if y'all haven't seen Kentucky's schedule, know that it is a brutal one. They face a lot of top SEC talent. Thank you for that. Yes. My ass would hurt if I was a Kentucky fan too. But so here's the thing about the Wildcats. They're one of the teams in the SEC that is bringing in a brand new system, starting with Will Stein coming in from Oregon to be their new head coach. So little experience there, but the thing about it is that they're bringing in a ton of talent with him, starting with Kenny Mitchell from Notre Dame. He is going to be the new starting quarterback for Kentucky. And I'd argue that while I don't think he's like one of the top quarterbacks in the country or top quarterbacks in the conference, what he does have is quite a bit of experience. And with the wide receiver core that they've got, Shane Carr, Nick Anderson, DJ Miller returning for another year, Kentucky, I think, has a roster, if they use it correctly, that's going to be able to grab an upset over somebody that they're not supposed to. If you guys have seen anything under the Wildcats, Mark Stoops has had a defense that's capable of grabbing a significant upset basically every single year he's been there. He just found a way to stoop the bed as he does and throw themselves out of winning that game. But yeah, obviously none of this comes to fruition without talking about their schedule. They play a ton of ranked teams. Alabama, Texas A&M, LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Louisville. They play 6 ranked teams, and a lot of those teams, by the time that the Wildcats play them, could wound up being ranked top 15 or higher. In my mind, I definitely see a scenario where the Wildcats grab an upset over one of those teams. Will it be Alabama and Lexington in week 2, or Oklahoma on the road on October 17th, LSU at home? I had to discuss this discussion earlier, and there are many that seem to think it's either going to be Alabama or it's going to be LSU.
Alabama.
Yeah, that's why it's a bold take. I would be way more confident in them doing that over LSU right now.
Agreed. If there was an upset that I'm going to peg anywhere, it's going to be LSU. Alabama's got to come to the burning trash heap of Kroger Field, but I also think that unlike last year, they're not going to walk into some godforsaken team's football stadium and shit themselves on national television like they did with Florida State. I think they learned their lesson there. For LSU is the far more likely, I think. And the main reason why that I think that it's not so much that it's because they got to deal with, it's Lane Kiffin and he's going to fuck up somewhere. They're going to be in the middle of a pretty easy stretch, I would say. Like, they got Texas A&M on the 26th. Then they got McNeese State, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Auburn. Complacency.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Run that back. We're talking about Kentucky, right?
Oh, shit. My bad. No, LSU. Yeah. I'm telling you that LSU is probably going to wind up getting upset by Kentucky is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I think that what I'm telling you is like I agree with your point, and I think it's going to be LSU because I think they're going to get complacent in October at some point against not against McNeese State, but against one of these SEC schools. They're dog water.
I don't know. I don't see them looking. Well, they can't look ahead of anybody. They play Mississippi State and Arkansas after that.
That's why I say they get complacent.
All right, well, fair enough. Fair enough.
They got to go Ole Miss and A&M back to back in September to open up the season. They're going to get lazy in mid-October because their bye week isn't until the end of the month.
Yeah,
could be a discipline issue.
And here's one that I don't think a lot of people are looking at. It could be at the end of the year where Kentucky grabs an upset. Louisville could very well be ranked in the top 15 by the time that Kentucky plays them. And then another one that I think a lot of people are looking down on, and this kind of does tie into my bold takes here, Missouri. They play Missouri right before they play Louisville. It's in Columbia. But Mizzou is a team that I think has got probably the best running back in college football right now in that backfield. Now, they don't have a passing game, so that could show some very big detriment down the stretch. But Ahmad Hardy, I am very, very high on Ahmad Hardy. And if Mizzou's got a line worth a damn, which I think they do, they could be in for a very good year this season. We'll see. But Kentucky could grab the upset over them if they're ranked in the top 15 somehow.
If there's a running back, I feel like that would have a good chance of making it to New York this year. Ahmad Hardy, Kawan Lacey. Somebody said Jaden Baugh earlier. Come on, man. Keep it real. I like Jaden Baugh. I think he's probably one of the top 3 running backs in the conference. But you see what else has been going on down in Florida? Come on now. Yeah. All right. Yeah. See, even the baby don't like Florida. All right. Yeah.
Coming in at number 2 here. Now, if you guys saw the ACC part, a lot of you were here for that. I talked about Louisville grabbing the upset over Ole Miss. This is the second part of that. Number 2, Ole Miss loses to Louisville, but rebounds and makes the SEC championship game. So that's the second part of my bold take with Ole Miss. I think it is a Florida State-Alabama situation to a lesser extent, at least with Louisville, more of an extent with Ole Miss. I think they lose that opener, rebound the rest of the way, potentially win the rest of their games, if not win at least 10 of them, and then make the SEC championship game. All right. That's it. So first, give me your take on that. By the way, I saw Zepp in there. Zepp, you said Tennessee was going 3-9. You're on some sort of lobotomy today. Stop putting up his comments.
Damn, you're calling his ass out there. Okay. I'm just going to say I don't think Ole Miss is going to lose to Louisville. Again, it just kind of goes back to that whole they have nobody to worry about until LSU. Charlotte's a bigger trap game right now than Louisville is at this point because they got to be the poor fuckers in between Louisville and LSU. And they're not going to have any sort of hope at all. That's their equivalent of an FCS, cannon fodder this year. Well, until they play Wofford in November. Anyway, even on a neutral field in Tennessee, which is about as neutral as you're going to get between those two teams, I don't see it happening. I think Ole Miss is going to win the SEC this year. I'm just going to come out and say that right now.
So there you go. You agree with at least my second part.
Yeah, I think I agree with the second part. I think Ole Miss at minimum will be in the championship game, if not win the goddamn thing. But I don't think they're going to lose to Louisville. That is, even if they lose to Louisville, sure, they could still, win out and make it in. But fuck, dude, that would just be kind of like that. Just take everything they did in the playoffs and just throw it in the fucking trash can because I guess it didn't matter and it was a fluke, wasn't it? They're going to be fueled by nothing but spite against Lane Kiffin this season. That is a very strong force, as you well know as a Tennessee fan. You can do a lot of things when you're fueled by hatred. And
true.
Again, they're going to want to beat the ever-loving shit out of Louisville and Charlotte before they can get their hands on LSU. because in that home environment, whoo, buddy, that's going to be charged.
I really think we're lowballing the shit out of Louisville, but again, that's a whole nother discussion.
I
I
don't think we're lowball on Louisville. I think we're just being realistic with Louisville. That's just my opinion.
I guess we'll find out in due time. That game is going to be intriguing to say the least. 7:30 Eastern on a Sunday.
Sunday.
All right. Is it time for our number one? And mind you, I say our because this is one that Red pitched to me, and I agreed with. So, for anybody that's going to go ahead and say something about this, know that we both agree on this one. So, our number one bold prediction for the SEC: Georgia misses the college football playoffs. Told you I was going to be bold with it. And no, again, like I just mentioned, this is not a me take. This is it's half a me take, but also half a Red take. So Red will give his thoughts on it in just a second, but I want to go ahead and elaborate on where I stand on this. So Georgia going to be super talented this year. I'm sure you guys know that. They've got more depth than anybody else in the country. They stack 5 stars on top of 5 stars. They've got one of the top head coaches in the land and Kirby Mouse. They've got a lot lining up in their direction. Plus, they've got Nate Frazier coming back for another year. Gunnar Stockton, who's going to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the SEC this season. He's going to be on a lot of Heisman ballots. This is something I talked about with Georgia, though. I think there are some significant issues with the Bulldogs that are not being discussed. One of them is their wide receiver core. And in my mind, it is a bigger problem than what's being addressed. They lost quite a bit of their top tier talent on the wide receiver core, and that really showed through the duration of the season. Plus, they lost Zachariah Branch, and if you guys saw Zachariah Branch play last year, he was really good. He was definitely the top wide receiver that Georgia had, but now he's gone, and the only thing that they did to replace him was bring in Isaiah Cannon from Georgia Tech. So I think there is some definite problems with the wide receiver core. I think they're going to be reliant on Lawson Lucky, the tight end, senior tight end. Other than that, there are some noticeable issues with that. Another thing to keep in mind with the Bulldogs, and this is something that I think could definitely impact them in their tougher games down the stretch. But they've got an incredible secondary. KJ Bolden is probably the best safety in the land right now. Georgia's defensive line, I think, has some significant issues with getting pressure. We saw it in the games that they played last year, and Kirby did basically nothing to help out with that. No transfers. The only transfer that he got on the defensive front was Amaris Williams, and he's not even a starter for them. So Georgia's talented, still talented. They're going to be talented for as long as the program exists. But I think in my mind, this is probably one of Kirby's least talented teams that he's had at Georgia. And with how successful he's been, we knew a year where they sort of fell down a little bit was coming. And this is not me saying Georgia's ass. And neither is Red. I can speak for him on that. Nobody's saying Georgia's going to be ass this year and they're going to go 7-5. Nobody's saying that. The last thing we need is for them to get more rat poison, right? But again, another thing with the Bulldogs, they've got a brutal schedule to go through as well. Oklahoma at home, Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Ole Miss in Oxford, South Carolina in Columbia. And if you saw anything about my South Carolina take, you know that I'm pretty high on the Gamecocks. Missouri in Athens, Auburn in Athens. And they've got to play like Vandy in Arkansas, but we know they're going to win those games. Say Georgia loses to Oklahoma, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Loses those 3 games, goes 9-3, finishes out the season beating Georgia Tech. Their best one would probably be South Carolina and Columbia by far. I don't know how good South Carolina is going to be. They'll be hovering around maybe like 7 or 8 wins, maybe ranked, maybe won't be. But we could be looking at a situation where Georgia loses to the 3 toughest teams that they play, 9-3, and they're on the outside looking in when it comes to the college football playoffs. That's where I stand on that. And perfect timing because Red's back. Red, let me hear what you've got to say about this. Welcome back, by the way. You agree with me, by the way, on this, that Georgia is not making the playoffs.
I do agree. They've been kind of. I don't really have a statistical reason as to why they're not making the playoffs. I think the reason why they're not making the playoffs, quite frankly, is all the distractions they've had. All the goddamn distractions they've had over the offseason, from players getting arrested. Kirby's been kind of falling down a little bit on the, terms of like how well he's doing. And like on the surface, the schedule doesn't look that tough. I mean, they only have 3 ranked teams right now. But Oklahoma, Alabama, and Ole Miss, those are all games I would say is fair to say that they're going to wind up losing. Oklahoma, we can give them shit all they want for, how they, dropped the ball in the playoff, but they're going to be a really, really tough team to beat, even if it's in Athens. Alabama, they always have a hard time beating Alabama. Ole Miss, that's a coin flip, but it's in Oxford, so I got the Rebs doing that. That is enough, in my opinion, especially, with who they have in between, to say that it's probably going to be a miss of a season for Georgia. There's just a lot of question marks in general about that whole program right now that I'm just like, maybe not this year.
Yeah. The greatest thing Georgia has, and this will be a thing for a long time, as long as Kirby's there, as long as they've got Kirby Smart there, they are going to have incredible coaching with them. But I think there are some significant issues that are not being discussed with Georgia, their wide receiver core. They've got an incredible defensive backfield, a great secondary, but they've got problems with pressure. They got problems with their wide receiver core, and I think that's going to end up biting them down the stretch. That's what I think is going to end up happening. Could be wrong. Very well could be. If Georgia sits there and they've got wins over Oklahoma and Alabama, then, yeah, they're making the playoffs, pending a massive implosion down the stretch. But that I wouldn't imagine that would happen. So, yeah, there you go. Those are our bold predictions with the SEC. And, yes, they are very bold. I can confirm. All right, we got one more. One more bold prediction that is unrelated to any conference. And I'm just gonna. I don't have a graphic for this one, so I'm just going to put this one here on the screen. And Red, you can tell me what you think about it. But this is the last one, the last bold prediction. It's unrelated to any conference, so you might know where I'm going here. But I'm gonna say it anyway. Or I'm just gonna let it say it. What? Is it that unreasonable? You've seen their schedule before. Oh, okay. Okay, buddy. Okay. Somebody's not very pleased about that one. I mean, you guys have seen their schedule. You know what I'm talking about. Well, you really think Notre Dame can't go undefeated with that schedule? Considering the talent that they're bringing back, you really don't think so? Must just be a me thing, I guess.
It is a catastrophe! What in the fuck?
You better be careful. You're going to throw down. You're going to start breaking your room again. You're going to put a hole in your wall.
Spare me. I don't even want the details. Fucking spare me. They're losing to Miami at least.
If your hoe only know that she was getting on the 7th floor.
You just want to share in the misery. You don't want to be the only one that lost to Miami. I get it.
I hope I didn't dox myself accidentally doing that.
Well, I didn't see anything. I would have probably said something if you did.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
Yeah. It's just,
Ain't nobody wants to go there anyway. Who wants to go to Ohio anyway?
okay, Squid, let's wrap it up before I have a reason to break my whole fucking computer.
Yeah, all right, well said. Okay, gentlemen, well, that's going to do it for tonight's show. If you missed any part, I'm going to upload this in 4 separate videos, so you get to see our bowl predictions conference by conference in video format so that you can get mad there. Appreciate everybody for coming tonight. Fantastic show. We'll be at this again same time Sunday, but it'll probably be the last time that we're going to do it Sunday. We're probably going to move this show to a different date starting when the season begins. So next week we're going to run the same schedule. I'm going to be on vacation though, so I will be running it probably from somewhere on the beach side, somewhere from within our condo, or I'll be playing more putt-putt golf while drunk. So we'll see how that pans out. In the meantime though, appreciate all of y'all for showing up here. Love y'all. Can't say that enough. The greatest fan base here on the YouTubes. Red, what you got going on the YouTubes, by the way?
Still working on those preseason predictions for the conferences. I did a bunch of voiceovers today, so working on that. Going to try to start getting them published later this week, and yeah, it'll be fun. A lot of the Group of 6 conferences fucking sucked doing because I'm not as familiar with those, but we'll see.
I ain't doing that. I will be, of course, I'm starting my Before the Chaos series. Going to have some of that ready to go by the time I get out of here on vacation. So you guys will have something to watch by the time that I'm done. Going to try and get everything that I can done in preparation for this upcoming season. For the coaching experience videos, some of the ones that you guys really, really want to see, do not worry. I'm not throwing those into the storage room. They will come out sometime in the near distant future, but it just might be during the season rather than in the off season. Sometime during the week after College Football Chaos is uploaded. We'll see how it pans out. But in the meantime, that's going to do it for tonight, you guys. Love y'all. Thank y'all again for supporting the channel. Graciously support all of y'all as you've supported me and Red. All right. Love y'all. Take care. Have a great rest of your Sunday night. And, of course, as always, power to Tardaria. And we'll see you next time.
And if your team is mad at me, it's probably because I'm right. Have a good week, guys.